Do you want to start your own podcast, but you're unsure how to get started, get organized, and produce your podcast? Well, this video is for you. I'm going to share with you the system that I use for almost free every single week to keep myself organized, collaborate with my team, record, edit my podcasts, distribute them, and market them. So stay tuned. Okay, just in case you're curious, here is my podcast setup. I just have this background and my regular computer, a microphone, some lights, and that's it. I use a Yeti mic and a Canon M50 DSLR with a little Rode mic for my gear to record my podcast. And if you have questions about any of the other gear, just put them in the comments and I'll let you know what I'm using. Okay, let me walk you through my whole system for producing our podcast. So it all starts here in our podcast planning board on Monday.com. I love Monday.com so much. We use it for a lot of aspects of our business, but it's great for planning our podcast. And there's other similar platforms out there, but a bunch of them I've tried. Asana, I've tried a few other ones. Personally, I like this one the best. They do have a free version, so I would highly recommend this to anybody. This is how our podcast planning board looks. So we have all of our upcoming episodes planned with their status. We have a couple that have been recorded that are currently being edited. I need to record these two today and then these ones, and it also has tagged who is involved and who's working on what, as well as our publication date for all of the upcoming podcasts. Then we use the rest of the board to include notes to all the different components of the podcast. So each podcast has a hook, a main portion. We have a standard intro and outro for all of our podcasts that get put on the beginning and end. And then when I record it, I also record the little social media promo clip for each one at the same time. So I put a link here. And then we have a section for the show notes. I write those. I'll show you an example. The thumbnails, and then the final video and MP3 files. You can also see when each thing gets updated. So yes, I love this whole thing. It helps keep us organized on the same page. You can easily see where the gaps are in any of our upcoming episodes, stuff that needs to be added. You can easily go in and see, for example, episode 11 that's coming up. If you want to see the hook video file, super easy for my editor to pull all the pieces together to edit. We can make sure we have our show notes ready to go, all that stuff. So I love Monday.com. And then all of our published episodes, you can see down here once you change the status here to published, it automatically gets moved down to the published section. I love this. I think it would be useful whether you're doing it totally on your own or whether you're working with a team just to help keep you organized. And especially if you are working with a team and you're collaborating, it's very, very helpful. Just as an example, I just do my show notes in Google Docs. I kind of created a standard format that I like for all my show notes. So I make the show notes myself, just like this, for every episode. That's the planning stage. The planning and collaboration for all the podcast episodes takes place in Monday.com. The next step is once everything is ready to go, we use Kajabi distribute our podcast. The reason that we use Kajabi is because we have a digital course and some other products for our Duratus Academy that are all hosted and connected on Kajabi. Kajabi has a relatively new podcast platform, but for us, it makes sense because we were already using Kajabi for our digital course, our other marketing stuff. It's all tied into our website. So for us, it makes sense. And it works well. Not a lot of complaints. I will say one drawback here in a sec. It's pretty easy. We post our episodes on here every week. It automatically uploads to Apple, Google, Spotify, which syndicates it out to all the streaming platforms. Pretty simple and easy to learn and use. And Kajabi has pretty robust training platform. So if you have no clue what you're doing, which was like us at the beginning, they have a class that teaches you how to use it and publish your podcast. So all that I really like. One drawback is that you can't publish your video podcast to Spotify. We do have a video podcast and we publish it. We upload it separately to YouTube podcasts. And just in case you don't know, YouTube does have, it's just like all the other video sections of YouTube, but they have now a podcast platform. So if you look at our channel, there's like your regular video section, and then you also have your podcast section now. So we do separately upload our podcast to YouTube, and we do have a video component. So in an ideal world, I would love to upload the whole MP4 file to Spotify. That's not possible with Kajabi right now. You can only upload an MP3 file. Honestly, not that big of a deal. It is a drawback to note. Another thing to note is that Kajabi is not free. We were already paying for it because of our digital course and the other stuff that we do for our business. So for us, it makes sense. If you're not going to sell a digital product on Kajabi, I don't know that this would make sense. There's a lot of other totally free podcast platforms out there. Anchor is a really good one. Unless you are planning on using Kajabi and creating and selling a digital course or a digital product, I don't know that I would recommend Kajabi. If you do have a digital course and a digital product, this is a really good option to consider. And it's included with the cost of hosting your course. So if you do have a course and you're interested in doing a podcast, hey, check out the podcast feature. Is really nice. It's good. But I think it really only makes sense if you are using Kajabi for another purpose. Okay, so that's how we plan and distribute our podcast. And then now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the recording and editing schedule. So I try to record 2 podcasts every Friday. We have our podcast publishes 2 episodes a week. So I try to record 2 episodes every Friday. And then my assistant, Talia, edits them and handles like all the scheduling, uploading, all that stuff. We've learned this together. We work together on it. We do our podcast totally ourselves, but that's our little rhythm. Is I block a few hours every Friday to record. Then she has a few days at the beginning of the week to edit and schedule our episodes to be uploaded. And that's how we produce our podcast in a nutshell. There's a lot that goes into, getting started and getting set up. And I think I will create a separate video about that, just maybe how to select your platform, your artwork, your intro, your outro, all that stuff. So I think maybe next week, or I'll do a future video about how to plan and get your podcast started, because it did take me about 3 years from having the initial idea to actually making the podcast a reality. So I can talk about that. For this video, I just wanted to discuss the very practical and tactical way that we produce our podcast for very cheaply and on our own. I think it turns out pretty well. Hopefully this helps you. If you're interested in creating a podcast, I really encourage you to go for it. It's not going to be perfect. The first few episodes, you kind of just have to, it's one of those things. You have to get out there. I would say get 10 episodes recorded. After you get through 10, you really start to get it and get your own rhythm down. Hey, don't let perfectionism inhibit you from doing it. Just start. And ideally, I would recommend getting 10 episodes recorded, and then you can start distributing, because that will help you work out some of the kinks. At least this framework can help you get started. And let me know if you have any questions. Leave them down below in the comments, and let me know if you want another video about how to get started and everything that goes into planning and getting your podcast started and off the ground. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them down in the comments below. Give us a like and share this video with someone else who might find it interesting. Thanks, guys.